Hi Southway! This week's assembly is a little different as we start to look forward to our summer holidays. After spending a lot of time at home recently, you may be running low on ideas on how to keep yourselves entertained. So I hope these cheap, fun ideas will help you keep yourselves busy during the holiday times. Garden camping. So if you can't get away and do some camping this year, then why not put your tent up in your garden? Once you've put it up, try and do all your activities outside. So see if you can cook a meal outside with a camping stove, but obviously make sure you get adult help with that. And then try and do some games outside and even sleep in your tent because it just makes it a bit more exciting and a bit different sleeping in your house. If you don't have a tent, why not try and set up a den? So you could maybe use a garden table or garden chairs and pop a blanket over it to make that kind of tent effect. And then again, you can still try and camp outside and do all those activities, but make sure you get adult help with those as well. Campfires. Now, if you've got enough space, and you do have to have quite a lot of space, you might be able to have a campfire. You have to make sure you've got an adult with you at all times, and you have to make sure that you've got permission, of course, from wherever you're going to have a campfire. But it's a really great way to spend some time and cooking marshmallows perhaps, or cooking dampers, which are dough. You have to make a dough and then you can wrap it around the stick and then cook it on the fire. You could also try and even cook a meal on your campfire, and again, make sure you've got adult support for that as well. Having a dress-up day or night is a really fun way to pass a few hours as well. So you could all have a family theme perhaps, or you could just go with the flow and all just dress up, either really smartly if you fancy being a bit fancy for the evening, or you could get all the fancy dress stuff out and have a go with that, or perhaps make something if you don't have any fancy dress stuff. Then you can think about a theme. So if you've dressed up in a certain way, you might then think, oh, we could have a certain meal that matches what we've dressed up as, or think of some games outside that you can do in your theme or in your dress up. Explore the great outdoors. So there is nothing better than getting outside and exploring and having a really good look around. You can make up loads of games. You can think about the Going on the Bear Hunt book and try and sort of recreate that with some different ideas of your own. You could go on a scavenger hunt. So before you leave the house, think of all the things that you want to try and find. So it could be a wildflower. It could be an acorn, if you think you might be able to find one of those. It could be a grey stone with a pattern on. Anything that you like. So you could have a whole list. And then each person has the list and you try and find as many of those items as you possibly can on your walk. Pretend to be explorers. So this is another picture from my family members, getting all dressed up and pretending to be explorers. And you could pretend to be animal explorers and just hide and try and find and see as many different animals as you can. Or you could just turn it into a bit of a game and just be a bit silly. But it's a great way to spend a few hours. You don't need binoculars and things like that. You could make some out of toilet rolls perhaps and stick them together. You could make hats and you could turn it into a bit of an activity. So now moving slightly away from home, but still quite local. So if you've got access to a car, these are places that you can drive to, or if not, some of them you can reach by bus or by train. So the first one is Cookmehaven or Seven Sisters, which is in Seaford, East Sussex, or nearby, so not hugely far from Brighton, but there are some lovely walks along there. You can walk along the Seven Sisters path, or there are some really nice paths along the river as well. There are even some chances for some swimming in the sea, but again, make sure you have an adult with you and you have permission. Parks and outdoor spaces. So we're really lucky in West Sussex. We've got loads of lovely parks and outdoor spaces. First of all, we've got Tilgate Park in Crawley, which isn't too far, which is a really lovely park. You've got Ardingly Reservoir, which isn't too far either, which has lots of green space and lots of things to see. There is a forest near Nyman's Garden, so next door to Nyman's Garden, which is free, where you can get in and just have a really good explore. There's Beadlands in Burgess Hill, which I know quite a few of you have been going to in the last few months anyway, but if you haven't yet, go and explore there. It's got a nice lake and you can have a little walk around. And Chailey Common is also a really nice place to go and explore. Wild swimming. So I do love a bit of wild swimming. So Barkham Mills near Lewes is a place that you can go wild swimming. There is a car park there that is free to park in. And you can walk along the river, find a space, and then have a lovely swim in the river there. And it is safe, lots of people do it. But do make sure you stay with an adult and make sure you don't go out of your depth if you're not a confident swimmer, and make sure that you're always supervised, please. So be really, really sensible. But it's a lovely way to spend some time. There are some swings over the river. It's really lovely and cool. You can take boats down if you've got a little dinghy or a little canoe or just a little float, like a surfboard or something. And it's really, really good fun. Knepp Estate near Storrington. So this is an old farm that has been rewilded. So it's been left to its own devices and it's gone quite wild, but the animals are still there and they're free range. So they just walk around and you can walk around, and there's some paths to follow, and the animals are just having a great time and you can just walk through them almost, and they're quite friendly. There's a lake, and for the first time in centuries, they have also been very lucky to have storks hatching babies there in huge nests, and you can actually see the storks looking after the baby birds, and it's a really great day out. So again, it's free, so you can park near the road and walk around, and it's just a really great place to go and explore. Woods Mill near Henfield. So again, not too far. Woods Mill is a really lovely nature reserve that you can walk around. They've got some walkways. There are also ponds where sometimes they do pond dipping, but they might not be able to be allowed to do that at the moment. But there's certainly lots to see there and lots of activities that you can still try and do whilst you're there. Beaches. So we are really lucky that we live near to the coast so that we can visit beaches. Two really nice beaches are Shoreham Beach and Lancing Beach, which are not so busy, because I do find Brighton and Hove at the moment are very, very busy. And with social distancing, it's a little bit too busy. So those are two really good options if you want something a bit quieter. Make sure you always follow the RNLI guidance, and I know Miss Mudford's doing a assembly next week on staying safe, especially at beaches, because there are currents in the sea and you do have to be careful. So make sure you always go in the water with an adult and you don't go too far either. And make sure you get lots of sunscreen on so that you don't burn. Pulborough Brooks RSPB Nature Reserve. So another really lovely place to go that is free. It's got a free car park. It's near Pulborough, and you can park up and just have a really lovely wander. There are some really great birds to be seen, and if you're not into birds, it's just a really lovely place to go and have a little look. Farms. So I know some farms have been closed, but I do know that they are about to start reopening. So Fisher's Farm in Wisborough Green is a lovely farm. You can go see the animals, you can have a great walk round, and there are loads of activities that you can do there. And Washbrook Farm, which is a bit closer, which you could get a bus to, is also a lovely farm, and go and see all those animals that have probably been missing all the people not visiting recently. Chesworth Farm, Horsham. So this is a farm which you don't have to pay for. You can just go and have a really nice walk or a cycle ride. And this is what they say, and I think it sounds pretty good from this description, although I haven't actually been there myself, so I will have to check this place out myself in the summer. There's a place in Horsham where you can see the district's most colourful wildflower displays, where you can walk the dog or have a family cycle ride well away from any roads, where you can watch owls flying during the day and walk through clouds of butterflies, where you can meet friendly cows and see rare sheep in a natural countryside setting which has been a farm since 1086. Bike rides. So bike rides, as we know, are a really great way to stay fit and healthy. And of course, you could just ride in Burgess Hill and go for some really lovely bike rides around your area, and making sure that you really stay safe, put bike helmets on, and always go with an adult. However, there are a couple of bike rides a bit further afield if you do have a car and if you have a bike rack, or if you can fit your bikes in the car. So one of them is from Bramber Castle near Stenning. If you park at Bramber Castle, you then cross over the road and you can follow a path alongside the road, but it's not actually on the road, so it's really safe, to Shoreham, and then you meet the river and you cycle along the river. And then when you get to Shoreham, you can have fish and chips or an ice cream on the beach, and then you can cycle back, and it's a really lovely cycle ride, and it's safe as well. The other lovely ride is from Henfield to Stenning along the Downs link. So part of it is going along an old railway line, but it's also a nice quiet route as well, not many cars. And then when you get to Stenning, I would recommend visiting the Stenning bookshop. Now, I'm a little bit biased because it is my auntie's bookshop, but it is a fantastic bookshop. There is a huge children's section, and there's a train with loads of books on. There is also loads of toys and other things there that you can have a look at. So it's a really nice independent bookshop that you can have a little browse in. There's also loads of other nice things in Stenning. You could buy an ice cream, or just have a little look and then cycle back. Meet with friends at a safe distance. So obviously we have to be careful at the moment that we are keeping our distance and staying safe. But now that we can meet in parks and meet outside and see friends, make the most of it. So get out and see your friends and be sociable, because it's really important, as we haven't been able to do it for quite a long time. Okay, and of course we can't always rely on the British weather to be sunny. So let's think about some other indoor activities that you could do if the weather isn't behaving. So you can make a fact file about yourself. So think about what your likes and dislikes are, what you're really good at, what you can tell somebody about yourself. Pop a picture in the middle maybe and do a lovely fact file all about yourself. You could do a science experiment. Now, if you have a little look online for children's science experiments, there's some really nice ones, and some of them don't really require much equipment. They're quite easy to do with stuff you've got at home. Create a show. So this could be a puppet show where you have to make the puppets as well, and maybe make the stage out of an old cardboard box, and then you could rehearse a show and then make a show for people to watch. Or you could just dress up and create a bit of a talent show or something like that with your family. Make a recycled musical instrument. So have a little route through the recycling, make sure it's nice and clean, and see if you can make something to play out of the musical instruments. Read a good book. Now, this is my nephew loving Tom Gates, but any book, just as long as you're enjoying it, is fantastic, and have a really good read. Play a board game. So get out that stash of board games, see if you can beat your family members to a game of Monopoly or something similar. Origami. Now, there are loads of online tutorials on things like YouTube where you can follow step-by-step origami, and when you've finished, I have to say, it is quite exciting when you see the finished result, and it's quite a good mindful activity to do as well. Lego. Now, I love a bit of Lego. There are loads of things online that you can make if you've run out of ideas, but just being creative with Lego is a really, really good way to spend some indoor time. Paint a picture or do something creative, do something arty is always a lovely thing to do. Or make slime. So find a recipe online and have a go at making some slime, and make sure you get an adult to help you. I'm sure you've got loads of other indoor activity ideas that you could share as well. Cook or bake or make your own restaurant. So these are my nieces and they love cooking and baking. They are always in the kitchen doing different things, and they've become really independent with it as well. And the other day they actually set up their own restaurant, and they put a sign on the front door. They made an area, a drinks area, they made a menu, and they cooked all the food themselves, and gave their parents a really lovely meal, which they said it was like being in a real restaurant. As you can see here, they even dressed up, so they've got shirts on, they plaited their hair and they put black trousers on so they looked the part. And it was fantastic, and it was a really good way to spend probably about 3 hours in an afternoon and evening setting it up and making everything for it. So that's a really good way to spend a few hours, and I'm sure your adults at home would love to be waited on. And finally, have a lovely, safe and happy holiday. Make sure you do stay safe. Don't forget to, if you're going swimming ever, make sure you've got an adult with you. Make sure you put sun cream on, and make sure you stay safe if you're outdoors as well. Take care.